And moving on to another story, the Nigerian government has said women who protect husbands that molest their children will also be charged with negligence. The Minister of Women Affairs, Uju Kennedy Ohaneye, who said this, stressed that the government will no longer tolerate mothers whose children have been molested. The minister said such wives may not want their husbands to be punished, but explains that the government's interest was in protection of the child. Kennedy Ohaneye spoke in Abuja at a one-day awareness creation program on using information and communication technology to address gender-based violence, organized by the Miriam Babangida National Center for Women Development. The minister said her ministry was planning the establishment of mobile courts to be established across the country to fight cases of gender-based violence. And to talk about these, I'm being joined live on the news by Nafisa Atiku, a gender justice advocate and program manager for Yar'Adua Foundation. Good afternoon, glad to have you join me.
Thank you for having me.
What's your reaction to the federal government punishing women who protect their pedophile husbands?
Honestly, it's not, I don't know how to say it, but it's not exactly the right way to solve problems in this country. I received the news, or rather received the instruction and directive from the federal government with a sense of exasperation. And it makes me feel that they don't exactly understand the crimes and incidents of gender-based violence that happen in this country, or understand gender-based violence as a whole. Gender-based violence is mostly perpetrated, when there are unequal power dynamics, but it is fostered by one critical thing, and that is the culture of silence. By slamming punitive measures on women who are the victims and survivors, mostly the victims and survivors of gender-based violence, I think it's a skewed way to try and solve the problem, because you are now targeting the vulnerable population who are mostly the victims and survivors of this crime. You are not empowering them to speak up. You are simply saying, speak up unless we will punish you, without thoroughly understanding that they are on the other spectrum of the power dynamic that isn't favoring them. What you should be doing is empowering these people to speak up and changing the social norms that perpetuate the sort of belief that you should hide or closet your husband if he's a pedophile. A thorough understanding of the concept of gender-based violence and how it works in the Nigerian society is needed to be able to actually profess solutions that work. But simply saying you're going to punish women that don't come out isn't the most effective way to deal with the situation.
Okay, if you can you give us an idea of what types of punishments we're looking at for the women or wives who protect their pedophile husbands?
Well, the first thing you have to ask them is why are they protecting their pedophile husbands? I'm not saying they should protect them, but there is a reason why they are protecting them. And I can assure you that most of those reasons are tied to economic well-being and economic empowerment. So there's the issue of if I tell on him, if I report him, who is going to take care of me? Who is even going to take care of the child that he's supposedly abusing? Or the family pressures that say, resolve it in-house, don't talk to anyone, right? We seem to think that these women are the engineers, right, of these sort of crimes that happen. They are the victims. You can even be sure that as the child is also being abused, these women are also being abused equally. Right, so it's more of, you need to understand the spectrum from which they are coming from, what is causing this kind of behavior, and then profess solutions that work to address the roots of the issues. There are economic empowerment programs. There are safe shelters for these women. These are really important. We don't have safe shelters in this country. Most of the safe shelters that we have that are working to a sustainable level are being run by CSOs. We have the Dorothy Njemazi's Foundation. We have the Miracle Center, one in Abuja, one in Lagos. There are no safe shelters to say that if this man is harassing me and my child, where can I go? Where can I put my head on? Right? These are critical things: economic empowerment, safe shelters, appropriate channels where people can come and report that this is happening, confidential channels, and then, of course, access to justice. After reporting, what happens? We in the gender-based violence space know that access to justice is a very difficult thing to attain. And the standard is very high, even if you have all the evidence. As a friend of mine said, you go explain tire.
If I may just follow up on that, yes, let me just follow up on what you just said, talking about access to justice. Why is it so difficult to attain?
Wow, that's a very loaded question. So, initially we had the issue of inadequate policy frameworks to even say this thing is defined as a crime within the Nigerian legal framework and we can pursue it. Now that has come and gone with the VAP Act, and we are still, focusing on other legislation such as the Sexual Harassment Prohibition Bill that is still sitting at the table of the president when it comes to tertiary institutions and sexual harassment within those ecosystems. Now, why is access to justice so hard? It comes down to implementation. So the law has been provided, the policy has been provided, but what about the response systems? What about the police? What about the courts? Especially the police. You go today to report an issue, they tell you bring 5,000 naira here, bring 10,000 naira here, bring 450,000 naira. Yes, we have had such incidents happen in Abuja. So where is the access to justice? A common survivor on the street that has just been molested or, gone through a rate of pedophile, a woman who is just sending pop-off and her husband is tormenting her daughter, tormenting her, where is she going to find 450,000 naira to give the police to, fast-track her case or accelerate her case, or even take the case and investigate it? So these are the real issues that we see. It's not just enough to say we're going to punish women who don't report. Why are they not reporting? Why are they covering up? Or have they even reported and they were turned back because they don't have enough money to fast-track their cases?
So,
these
Nafisa,
are the things we need to think about.
Right. So, Nafisa, in place of this law that seeks to punish women or wives who protect their pedophile husbands, what law would you rather see being, made?
So, first of all, like I earlier stated, we have a law currently on the table of the president that is waiting assent, and that is the Tertiary Institutions Sexual Harassment Prevention and Prohibition Bill. That bill should be signed because we do not have any bills that cover or protect vulnerable persons in university communities from sexual harassment. That's a key one that should be signed. And if we're talking about policies, we should talk about more policies that promote access to justice for gender-based violence survivors. That is critical, that is important. We have the National Gender Policy. We have policies that are still waiting implementation. Nobody is implementing them. And then, of course, we should focus on policies that empower women and help them to break the culture of silence regarding GBV crimes in the country.
All right, thank you so much for your insight on the news. Nafisa Atiku, Gender Justice Advocate and Program Manager, Yar'Adua Foundation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.